Welcome to BUS714 Report, Tips and Tricks for Succeeding. My name is Steph Bennett. I'm a Learning Development Tutor in the Hub. Today's aims: to develop an understanding of the BUS714 Report expectations with a focus on drafting and academic writing at Level 7. We will look at breaking down the brief, academic reading and the crack test, assignment drafting, academic writing at Level 7 and some tips for moving forward. Breaking down the assignment brief. Grab your brief. What to look for? The assignment type this time around is a report. The weighting is 70%, which means you have another assignment for this module. The word count for the report, 4,200, and you have the plus or minus 10%. Just double check your submission date. The big picture topic: leading, developing and influencing organisational strategy. And you might be thinking, why is that important? Well, it's important because each subheading within your report and each peel paragraph in your report will somehow link back into that big picture topic. It's almost like a golden thread. It'll keep you on track throughout. The angle that you're looking at the big picture topic from is your organisation and also the perspectives of theory. And what is your assignment brief instructing you to do? It's instructing you to critically appraise, critically analyse, critically evaluate, identify and recommend. Recommend means the ability to pinpoint something due to prior understanding or experiences. But what do the rest of the instruction words and phrases mean? Well, here are your module outcomes. And you'll see the instruction words and phrases featured here. Critically analyse means to break down a piece of information or an idea and explain what's significant about it. And you can use phrases like "this suggests" and then clearly explain to the reader what the information is telling you about the topic and why it's important. Systematically evaluate means to provide and critique evidence to support and contradict arguments in a focused, consistent and coherent way. Then you can give your verdict as to what extent the original idea is true or how far you agree with it. It will basically help you to come to conclusions. Critically appraise is about judging the trustworthiness, value or relevance of ideas within a specific context. Almost how theory aligns with or deviates from professional practice. Then consider who else supports or challenges these ideas in the literature to help you come to a conclusion about the best way forward. Critically evaluate, providing and critiquing evidence to support and contradict arguments. For example, looking at the strengths and limitations of theories or ideas or approaches. And then you can give your verdict as to what extent the original idea is true or how far you agree with it. For example, your recommendations and your conclusion might be based on this. Articulating, that is to do with communicating your ideas clearly, concisely and logically using academic style and tone. And that ties in with things like spelling, punctuation, grammar with a focus on syntax, and even APA 7th referencing. Academic reading. Let's get talking. Well, as we're online, let's get thinking. Take your assignment brief and have a think about the Boolean search terms that you might use to expand your reading via Google Scholar searches. Pause the video for 4 minutes and jot down your ideas. But before you do, here is an example Boolean search. You can see that similar words or synonyms are separated by the word or, and then different words or phrases are separated by the word and. Everything is placed in speech marks. That just helps Google Scholar to search inside documents and not just the titles of documents. So pause the video, jot down your ideas for your Boolean searches. Academic reading then. We start with our reading list. The core readings will probably need to be included in the report. There'll also be some maybe further reading on there that you might want to have a look at to illuminate your ideas a little further. And then you can conduct your own searches via Google Scholar using the Boolean search terms you've just established. Then it's important to critically analyse these sources. Is the information current? Are you looking in specific years for literature? Are you looking for maybe past literature, seminal literature, and then maybe present day literature to bolster the seminal pieces? Think about relevance. What are your Boolean searches? Are they narrowing down the sources to the ones that are most suitable and relevant for your needs? This ties in with the idea of inclusion criteria and exclusion criteria. What sources do you want to exclude and which ones do you want to include and why? Authority. Are you looking for articles or books by specific authors that you know are established authors and practitioners in the field? What about accuracy? This is a little bit harder to determine. How can you ensure your literature is accurate? One of the things that you could do is you could look to the sources that your author is citing to back up their ideas. You can also use this to reference mine. Head to their reference list and why not have a read of their sources they've been using. And finally, purpose. This is to do with the motivation behind the literature. Why does that piece exist? It might be that there is an element of bias in the article that you're reading, and you have to try and pick that out because that might give you a basis on which to include an argument in your academic writing. So let's get thinking again. Here's a critical reading warm-up. 3 statements will follow. It's just something short and snappy to get you into the mood of critical reading. Can you determine which of the 3 is informative, persuasive and entertaining? Here is number 1. Understanding trait theory helps you predict behaviour, improve teamwork and make smarter hiring decisions. Number 2. If trait theory were a playlist, you'd be stuck on repeat because your personality traits love consistency. And finally, number 3. Trait theory suggests personality is made up of stable, measurable traits that can influence behaviour across situations. Which is informative, which is entertaining, which is persuasive. Did you get it right? Number 1 is persuasive. Number 2 is entertaining because we rarely use exclamation points in academic writing. And finally, number 3 is informative. And you can tell it's informative because it uses hedging language like suggests and can. Hedging language is something that we can use in our own academic writing, specifically in the critical explanations in our appeal paragraphs. It helps us to present our academic voice and our interpretation of the things that we've read without being definitive. Creating a draft. So this draft assignment is by no means definitive. It's a suggestion as to what this assignment might look like. But as you are the specialists, you'll choose your own report subtitles. You'll also choose your own structure. It's just a starting point if you need one. And here we are. 4,200 word report draft for BUS714, starting with an abstract/exec summary. These are typically 150 to 300 words, but not usually included in the word count, so please check with your tutor about this. What's included in an abstract or exec summary? The focus and purpose, what did the report explore and why? A summary, what were the key findings? Significance, what is the significance of these findings? And finally, next steps. What are the recommendations for future practice based on this? Let's head to the introduction. I've said here typically 10%, but you could do 200 words instead of 400. You could save that extra word count for your main body. In a standard introduction, you have a hook sentence to introduce the topic in relation to your organisation, brief background information to lay the topic foundations for the reader. You might want to introduce first citations here from your core literature on your reading list, and any information about your organisation that the reader may need for the main body. Focus and purpose. What will the report explore and why? What message do you want the reader to take away from the report? This can go at the top if you'd like, and you can remove the hook sentence and just have focus and purpose, background and report map. I prefer it to go here and have something to grab the attention of the reader at the start instead, but it's totally up to you. And finally, a report map. Accordingly, this report will explore with a focus on, subsequently it will discuss, concluding that. Something to signpost the reader throughout the report. So the main body of the report then, you might want to use peel paragraphs of approximately 200 words each. Remember, that is totally flexible. And here is a checklist to tick off as you go. The brief's expectations are down the left-hand side, and then there's a little tick box, have I included this? So have a read of those. So I've broken the main body down into subheadings, and here is subheading 1, called Approaches for Developing Organisational Strategy. And I've given myself approximately 1,250 words. You can see I've been using peel paragraphs here. There are 2 approaches to peel paragraphs on an apprenticeship style course. The first is here. Point. Make a point about approaches. Evidence. Back it up with the literature to support. For example, what are the authors saying? Explain. What does this suggest in relation to your organisation, and why is this significant? And finally, wrap up your paragraph. An alternative peel approach is make a point about an approach your organisation takes. Evidence. Use the literature to support this approach, for example, books, journals, and even your organisation-specific literature, if it exists. Then move on to critical explanation. Why does this approach matter? What are its strengths and limitations? What is the impact? And then a link. Wrap up the peel with a sentence that concludes your ideas and connects to the next paragraph. You can see I've done a further 2 subheadings. So subheading 2, Factors for Driving Organisational Strategy, and I've just said keep peeling. And subheading 3, Wide-ranging and dynamic challenges in developing and leading strategy, again keep peeling. And finally, tie it up with conclusion and recommendations, approximately 10%, but I've said about 250 words. Return to the focus and purpose. What did your report set out to do and why? Summarise the key points you've raised throughout the report and then say why they are significant. And finally, next steps. This is important because it is part of your assignment brief. Consider recommendations for your organisation's future built on the literature that you've reviewed throughout. Then you've got your ref list. Ensure you're using the Academic Integrity Guide, as online software doesn't always get APA 7th correct. And I've given you the link to that. I've also given you some ideas on how to reference certain things. So online books are referenced this way. Online journals are referenced this way. Websites with corporate authors are referenced this way. Acts of Parliament, if you're going to use them, are referenced like this. And government documents are referenced like this. And here is the appendix. You can see I've only got Appendix A, your KSPs and the position in the report. Each appendix that you include should be on a separate page and should be labelled A, B, C, etc. Whereas figures should be labelled 1, 2, 3 and they should sit in the main body of the report. Academic writing. The golden rules. Firstly, familiarise yourself with the new Code of Practice for Academic Misconduct in the Academic Integrity Guide. Secondly, unity. In your academic writing, demonstrate unity. Get to the point and stick to the point. Try and avoid tangents. And cohesion, the flow of the sentences from one to the next. The flow of paragraphs from one to the next. Cohesion in a report will be helped by subheadings to signpost the reader. Avoid conjunctions like but, because or and at the start of sentences. Avoid contractions like it's, don't and haven't. Instead it should be it is, do not, have not. Avoid colloquialisms such as loads of. Instead use words like several, many, numerous. Avoid deadwood. The phrase on the other hand could be shortened to conversely, alternatively or nevertheless. And each of those words is more academic sounding than on the other hand. Use peel paragraphs. More on this in just a moment. Use subject-specific or organisation-specific terminology, but don't forget to tell us what it means. Synthesise your literature, where you have 2, 3 or more authors in one bracket. It helps to demonstrate wider reading and also it bolsters the points that you're trying to make. Signal transition. Use signposting words like accordingly, thus, therefore, overall, however, consequently. It helps with cohesion. And finally, cite and reference using the Academic Integrity Guide. Remember that blue videos are for citations and teal videos are for references. You don't have to watch the videos, you can have a look at the examples placed underneath the videos, and at the bottom of every page on the AIG, there is a Word document for you to download and take away. Here is an example of a Peel paragraph, and no, I am by no means a specialist in this area, so if it doesn't make sense, I apologise, but at least you can get to grips with the structure here. It's a nuts and bolts Peel because it's not finished. We've got a point there in red. Organisational strategy plays a crucial role in guiding the direction and actions of organisation name, enabling them to achieve their goals and maintain a competitive advantage in dynamic marketplaces. As highlighted by Hitt et al. 2019 and Porter 1996, strategic choices, this helps align Barnett, Travis, CB accordingly. And let's add in some information about the organisation. Now the critical element in orange. This suggests organisation names strategy formulation involves. This is significant as it leverages strengths, mitigates weaknesses, thus enhancing. Therefore, organisation names organisational strategy serves as a roadmap for. Now we're going to have a look at 3 different peels. They're kind of the same peel, but they improve as they go along. So have a look at this peel, pause the video and see if you can recognise the errors. So how might we make this sound a little better? Or maybe, if you've picked up on some of the errors, it could start to look like this. So we've got more formal phrasing in there, we've got commas in there to help ease the flow of the paragraph, the cohesion of the paragraph. There are still things that are missing. So how do we turn this into something even stronger? Despite the solutions differentialism may provide when implemented effectively, there are still limitations to its usefulness. It can enable a suitable starting point when building relationships, particularly when children are new to the service. It may also influence decisions regarding their future focus and what they would like to pursue. However, this approach does not necessarily consider their cultural and social needs. You can see that there are several pieces of literature used here and a synthesis as well, whereas the prior versions didn't include that. This also steers away from first person, which makes it sound more elevated, more formal, more academic. Now let's get to the criticality, which is applying the theory in practice. For example, in practice when pupils are due to leave the unit, they are occasionally unsure of where they will be going, which presents issues regarding their knowledge of the area. Hence, differentialism cannot be presented as a one-size-fits-all approach to career guidance, and subsequently, this can negatively impact learners. Namely, past personal experiences have revealed that pupils quickly lose interest or develop undesirable attitudes when they take on something new and dislike it. Overall, differentialism is a beneficial approach to employ, yet advisors must be aware of its limitations to counter them within the setting. So much stronger than where we started, and this is what you're aiming for at level 7. Finally, moving forward, my email address is at the top if you have any questions or suggestions. Don't forget to proofread and edit prior to submitting. Book in with Learning Development for things like spelling, punctuation, grammar and referencing. We have the Learning Development Blackboard and the Academic Integrity Guide to support with academic writing and referencing. You can also access Scribber for academic writing. And you can access Academic Phrase Bank to support with sentence starters to get you in the flow of writing. Thanks for being with me today.